We're recording.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, June 22nd, Greater Augusta Utility District Board Meeting. Tonight we'll start out, we're gonna have some guests here tonight. We're gonna start out tonight with some introductions of board members, starting on my.
Cecil Hudson, Augusta trustee. Keith Taylor, Hollowell trustee.
Pat Parity, Augusta trustee.
Good evening, I'm Fred Sawyer from Augusta.
Good evening, I'm Keith Booth, also from Augusta, and I'm a non-voting member.
Jim Dunn, Augusta trustee.
And I'm Ken Knight, and I'm Augusta trustee as well. Now let's introduce some of our employees, consultants, and then we'll go around and yes.
Mike Payne, finance director.
Alan Bird, human resource consultant.
Andy Began, assistant general manager.
Brian Tarbuck, general manager.
And now we also have some consultants here with us tonight.
Yeah, I already did that.
That's right, you did it already. Now Meredith, I think, is there somewhere.
Okay, hi, good evening.
Matt Wells with Drummond Environmental.
Right, and we have Bob Corey somewhere out there and.
Yeah, Bob Corey, Augusta trustee.
Okay, I'm getting used to some of this remote stuff. Now we have a bunch of guests here tonight, so we'd like to have everybody introduce themselves.
Marina Gordo,
You guys from Manchester?
Manchester, yep.
Dr. Smart, Manchester.
Eric Gilbert, Manchester.
Donna Theofield, Augusta.
Jonathan Fairfield, Augusta.
Whipple Valley, Manchester.
Debbie Everett, Manchester.
Thank you.
Couple folks online that.
Okay, there's a couple of folks online as well.
Yeah, I don't know who
Mike's
Dottie is. The Dostey's Brian Dostey.
Okay, well, at least they're logged in. But anyways, any other agenda additions tonight, Brian?
Tonight.
Okay, having said that, tonight I'm gonna move the agenda around. I'd like to start out with this question regarding groundwater extraction near Manchester. We're gonna do that towards the end. We're gonna move that up as the first thing. And I guess I'll probably start this off, Brian, by maybe a quick intro and then having a hydrologist kind of there and then let other people kind of participate. So, but let's at least give you an overview of what we're doing and how we got to this point, because it's different, there's do things haphazardly. It's been a long project to get to where we can actually do something, and there's some reasons why we do it. So go ahead.
Yeah, this goes back to 1985. I think some of you folks may have lived out there as little kids. Back in the day, we were looking for a water supply as a result of some Safe Drinking Water Act amendments that were going to be passed in 1986. So in anticipation of that, we looked all around to try to find groundwater. Instead, we opted to install a filtration plant out at Carlton Pond. And then we gave up on groundwater for a while. We operated that for 10 years. Operating costs got really, really high at chlorine gas. And that became kind of a liability we didn't need. We never saw the growth, the amount of water we were supposed to sell never materialized. So as a result, we went to groundwater. We used 3 wells that were installed in the 50s and 60s. Those wells were installed to help augment Augusta's water supply from back in the day, because in the summer, we get a little bit of algae in the water. It tastes like cucumbers or something. It wasn't a great taste at all. And people didn't like it. So we were also pumping a lot of water out of that source, and it wasn't enough to meet our needs. So that led to development of 3 wells right along Bond Brook. And that worked pretty, pun intended, well until the mid 2000s. We installed another 2 wells up on Riverside Drive, way out at the end of the road towards Vassalboro. And so that was a tactical decision because we didn't have any storage at that end. So you imagine if we lost water main, we wouldn't have any water from that point all the way out, and it was several miles. So developed those wells, everything was good, and then out of nowhere comes this PFAS compound. I think everybody's heard of that. And we thought we're fine, we shouldn't have any trouble, but sure enough, when you measure things in the parts per trillion mode, you're bound to find something if you look hard enough for it. So sure enough, we did. And in 2024, late November 2024, we turned our well off at the end of Riverside Drive. So that led us to develop some filtration, which we just completed last week. We're waiting to make sure that the filtration actually works. That removes all the PFAS from the water. And then once we can prove to the state of Maine that this is acceptable, we'll turn that well back on. The problem is that we can't use as much water as we used to have from the well that we installed in 2015. So what do? we went back to 1985 when we went out to find some sand and gravel aquifer sources that were out in your neck of the woods as it happens. And of course, we developed and tested that well. And here we are tonight to talk about that. So I guess I'll pass it off to Matt Drumlin, or Matt from Drumlin. Sorry, Matt.
No worries, no worries.
Matt's a hydrogeologist. He works for us at the utility district. I've known him for 25 or more years. And that's what he does, is looks for water underground, like a human dowsing rod, if you will. So with that, I'll hand it off to Matt to help explain how these sources work, how this development might impact your groundwater, your wells at home, and then go from there. So,
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
yes, sir.
And as Brian said, the district started to look all in their area, but it found, some good promise back in 1985 out in that direction. And for the reasons he explained, that information had been kind of on the shelf. They haven't pursued it because they've done some other things. Recently, we've looked again back out in the Mount Vernon Road area, and have found some very favorable conditions. So basically, what we're looking for is extensive, thick sand and gravel deposits. They are the kind of soil that has a high yield, so you can put a high production well in that will be sufficient to meet the district's needs. So you need to be able to pump at hundreds of gallons a minute. But you also need to have recharge to that sand and gravel. And in this area here and to the north, as you're probably all aware, there's a lot of sand and gravel, there's all the gravel pits and so forth up in that area. And so there's a pretty extensive aquifer system that is in this area. So this map here just shows the geology, and the highlights here are the red, which are referred to as eskers. Those are basically old glacial under ice glacial rivers, if you will, very coarse material. And surrounding that, the pink is our sand and gravel that has been deposited by the glaciers, sort of as a delta, if you will. And then to the south, that the pink stuff is sort of more clayey material that overlies that sand. So that sandy delta material goes in under, and we've been working in this area at the bottom where the little circle is in red, basically. But in that area, as you can see, there's hundreds of acres of this big sand deposit, which gets lots of rainfall to recharge it, to renew that material in the groundwater there. This is the Maine Geological Survey mapped aquifer in yellow. And as you can see, it extends way up to the north in Manchester and goes further to the south down, actually further to the south down in where the triangle wells are that Brian mentioned from the 90s, from the 50s area that they're using. Basically, along this aquifer, groundwater is flowing generally from north to south. And so the water that, to the extent that water users are to the north of where the water district is, that water is going to be there. You get that water first, if you will. The other thing that's important to sort of understand is that this is sand and gravel that lies on top of the bedrock. And most people, because of the way drilling has evolved in Maine, most people actually have bedrock wells. So most people get their water from the aquifer below the sand and gravel, which is really not connected very well, if at all. So if you have a bedrock well, likelihood is that you're not really even in the same, I'm going to call it bathtub, which isn't quite the right word, but you're pretty well disconnected. If you have a shallower sand and gravel well, you're drawing from the same deposit. So we've looked at this at the area that was in the red circle. We've done some preliminary pumping there. The pumping yield is good. There's a pretty small change in the water. So when we pump on the property there, we get around the edges of the property, we get the water table in the sand and gravel goes down by a few feet. And that gets a lot less as you go further away. So if you're further away than that, if you're, you know, if you're 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet, the change is going to be basically not measurable. This is kind of a map of the testing that we've done. The concentric circles are the change. So in the middle, there's more change closer to the well where we pumped. On the outside, as I say, there's 2 or 3 feet around that circle. And then as you get further off site to the north, south, east, and west, that gets less. So where we are at the moment is we've done this testing. We're looking at the data, but it's, you know, what we're finding is favorable. What we're sort of in the process now of looking at what's the right strategy to withdraw water here in a sustainable way. Because basically the district is looking, that super important to them is that they don't overdraw this system. So they need to get more water recharged into that sand and gravel than they're taking out, and that others in the area are taking out. So that, you know, that there will be a natural cycle of drain in that aquifer. You know, it's typical in the spring, the water table comes up. And then in the fall and in the dry period, it goes down, and it varies from year to year. We don't yet know whether that's a 4 or 5 foot site, you know, range typical, or a 6 or 7 foot range. It varies from place to place. So that's the information we're getting at this point. But that sort of change, a couple of feet, that's created by this pumping is probably within that natural range anyway. But we're still working on sort of trying to look at, okay, how much water can the system really produce in order to that the district, you know, that the district can withdraw on a sustainable basis that works for them forever, because basically they're in the business of you know, developing water supplies that are inexhaustible, and that has to be tied to what the recharge, you know, amount of recharge there is. And also, you know, and be drought resistant. I mean, right now we're in the middle of we're on the tail end of last year's drought, but we're still probably seeing some effects of that. But like I say, the data we have right now suggests that that the influence is pretty localized. It's relatively small. Oh, the other thing I guess I didn't mention is we're also this deposit of sand where we're pumping is over 130 feet thick, and there's 60 or 70 feet of that is saturated. So there's a pretty big thickness of saturated sand and gravel there. And so these fluctuations that are created by the pumping is relatively small, but you know, we need to make sure that change is going to be not grow and get to be, you know, problematic. So that's sort of an overview of where the process is right now. As I say, key to the whole thing is to make sure that the withdrawal rates are matched to the size of the aquifer and to the ability of that system to recharge and, you know, sustain itself. Because overall, you know, it doesn't do any good to the district. It certainly is terrible for the, you know, neighbors and so forth if you come in and you just take all the water out faster than it can be recharged. So that's kind of an overview, I guess. I don't know if anybody.
Well, again, you guys are welcome to ask questions. I wanted you guys to have an overview. Well, and then you can dig into that.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I want to start out with, you know, I'm not here and I don't believe my neighbors are here with me. I know they're not. We're not here to say, we can't put that well there, whatever. We understand people need drinking water. That's really important. And we don't have, I don't have any problem. I don't think my neighbors have any problem with it. Our concern is our water supply and our future, you know, and what we're, you know, we want to make sure our water remains safe no matter what or when, you know. I think we ought to have a long-term contract with the Greater Augusta Utility District that you know, that takes care of us as far as, you know, it should be a legal long-term contract that you agree to, and it needs to be extended if necessary for the establishment of a baseline for seasonal variations, as you spoke about, whether it be, spring it's high, drought, whatever. And I don't think, I don't think we should have to create our own baseline. I think a third party, an independent geohydrologist should be hired, to do that and, and test all those wells that are within the cone of influence. I don't do, the cone of influence, I've been, like I said, I've been speaking to a qualified environmental professional. He's kind of guided me on it. And the cone of influence can grow over time. Do you agree with that as a hydrologist, as a geohydrologist?
The cone of influence is gonna be established basically by the amount of pumping that's done.
Okay.
And for a given pumping rate, that cone of influence will be more or less fixed. It won't just grow, if it continues to grow over time, then you're over pumping the system. And so you'll get to an equilibrium. And,
Are you familiar with private well protection programs at all?
Not specifically as a program. I'm familiar with a situation where you want, where there's some level of monitoring that would track whether a private well's been impacted.
Yeah, I know that Greater Augusta Utility District, you've been doing testing in that area since 2015 pretty extensively too. And residential wells are not risk-free from a quality and quantity perspective, is what your data says from your 2015, since 2015. Your database says that it's not risk-free from a quality and quantity perspective. So that's what has, us concerned. Again, I want to reiterate, people need fresh drinking water. That's great drinking water. And like Andy said a couple of weeks ago when we talked, that water is pretty nice because the gravel and sand cleans it right up for you and it's nice and good. You don't have to put a filtration system in that costs tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions. So we totally get that. But I think, not that I think, I really would like to have an independent geohydrologist, come in and establish a baseline for us, and not a baseline like, just for a couple of weeks, like establish the baseline and monitor it for several years. I think that's not a lot to ask for Greater Augusta Utility District to do. Back in 1992, I believe, and I haven't been able to, I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit. Town of Manchester created 5-acre zoning where our homes are. And the reason that 5-acre zoning was created, I was told this years ago, was to protect the city of Augusta's future water supply. Because you knew, Greater Augusta Utility District knew years ago, hey, that's a good spot, maybe someday we'll be there. So that was created to protect that water supply. I won't get into the zoning issues of Augusta because right across the line, Augusta had no problem giving out 1-acre lots, boom, 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 down through there. But we've been on 5 acres, zoning for that. So I have enough land between me and my daughter. If we wanted to go with regular Manchester zoning, geez, we could put a couple of more house lots in there. We have enough frontage and everything. We could make money. But we haven't been able, we're not doing that because of the 5-acre zoning. So I'm getting into politics a little bit. I don't want to do that. So I guess that's, that's our big thing is we want our water protected from a quality and quantity standpoint. I understand you're a geohydrologist, but I think it would be best if a third party geohydrologist with a, with a resume, would do that for us residents within that area, not just Manchester residents. I know up there it said, there's 5 wells in the proximity. There's some that are even closer. And they're in Augusta. They're across the street from the well right there. So, I don't know. Do you guys have anything to input on that? Debbie, Rick, John?
Well, we feel the same way you do. We just want to protect our water. It's not, you know, I've been there since 92. I've never run out of water.
Right, it's great water, and Andy said, this is drinking water here, it's clean, it's like, yes, we know. Um,
We'd like to keep
and I
that.
don't, and we don't, you know, I would not want to go on city water. It would be awesome if something happened, and we know we talked, Andy, and you were like, wow, what, you know, pumps, we can't, maintenance, pumps go bad, that's all maintenance stuff, that's on the homeowner. It's all about quality and quantity that we're concerned with, and we may never have any problems, you know, but I don't think it's a lot to ask for the Greater Augusta Utility District to create a baseline for us neighbors within maybe a couple thousand feet within that wellhead.
Yeah, I can't speak to the relationship between the district and neighbors, but as far as the sort of the concept, if you will, I think we will be able to, not sitting here tonight, but I
Right,
think we will be able to sort of identify what that cone of influence is and where, and then again, distinguishing between where wells are they in the bedrock, are they in the sand and gravel? And try to identify for the benefit of the district and for the neighbors, where, you know, which wells would be the most potentially at risk. And then, you know, try to assess and get some baseline on those wells. And again, I don't really know, because I haven't looked, whether there's 2 of those or 15 of those or what that is. But I mean, I think from a technical point of view, we should be able to establish that kind of information. And then, you know, for some kind of monitoring or baseline to be done.
and that would be monitored for years.
It could be, yeah, it could be. I mean, again, I think it could be monitored for years, or it could be monitored for, well, first of all, to try to identify what the level of impact is, if you will, what the level of change is, and in relation to the well. If you have a marginal well, somebody has a dug well
Mhm.
across the street in the sand and gravel, and they have, you know, 4 feet of water in the well in the spring, 2 feet of well in the summer, that's really at risk. You know, if somebody has a drilled well in the sand and gravel that's, you know, 80 or 90 feet thick and has 40 feet of water in it, then while there might be a change of a foot as a result of the pumping, it you know, substantially won't change the usability of that well.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would suggest that those kind of factors be dialed into the discussion.
Mhm.
But no, I think in principle that, you know, that we will have the technical information to sort of have the conversation in a more detailed way. We don't tonight, but I think,
Oh, yeah, of course, of course. Do you have a plan in place in case there's any spills in the watershed? Will you have a plan in place in case there's any big spills within that watershed, you know, environmental?
yeah, that'll be part of the permitting process.
Correct.
Is, you know, land use.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure, you know, I don't wanna be 5, 8, 10 years down the road, have my well go dry and they say, hey, City of Augusta, and have the City of Augusta go, well, did you have a baseline? Did you have, and I don't think we should have to pay. That's truly where I am. I think the baseline should be created by a third party independently, you know, and monitored for several years. And, you know, and put us at ease that way. You know, again, don't have any problems with people need drinking water. Totally understand that. Greater Augusta Utility District is a very powerful entity. We're not gonna stop that well from going in there, even if even if I wanted to say no, you know, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna happen no matter what, you know. And, so I want to thank you for hearing us tonight, and I hope everybody's hearing us. Cause you can have, if you don't have clean drinking water, your home ain't really dying. And that's where I am.
Yeah, pollution's a big issue today too. Yeah.
Right, you know, that's why I talked about the spill issues and stuff like that. And, you know, I just want everybody to put themselves in our shoes. You know, if I lived close to that well, how would I feel? How would I want the Greater Augusta Utility District to make me feel, put me at ease? That's all.
I'm kind of wondering the setup of this all. You've been drilling a well in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
What is this gonna look like? Are you just like running a pipeline down through? What are you doing with that property that you plan on buying from the neighbors and?
So most of the property goes unused. We put a wellhead in, so you'll see a pipe about this big sticking above grade. And that's so we can pull the cap and access the wellhead, much like a residential well, just a little bigger. And then we'll have a building. It'll house electrical gear and, you know, the equipment we need to make that treatment plant run.
Okay.
So we have the
There's
option.
one well, then you're talking about,
One station.
one station.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where you're purchasing the other land, there's potential to put more wellheads on that property?
There's always a potential. We would obviously want to research the sensitivity of how close those are. We don't want the pumping of one well impacting, you know, the one right next to it. So we would like to space them far enough apart. Would we do it on that property? Likely, Matt would be able to answer that better than me, but my guess is probably not.
Okay.
Are you utilizing that whole property? I mean, the property that the house sits on, the fields all around,
If you look at it in terms of
purchasing it all?
watershed protection, you know, then yes, it has value. So
So you're talking the whole property, you're taking the whole property. I mean, you're purchasing the whole property.
That's the point. Yeah, and again, it goes back to, you're talking about protecting the water supply. You're talking about protecting your own water supplies for your individual houses. Of course, we respect that. We're looking at protecting the water supply for 6,000 houses, 2 hospitals, a state, you know, there's a lot at risk. So we're very much in the risk management business and want to keep that as low as possible. Ideally, you'd find a well in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody nearby. These are low points, but in this particular case, it's a strange situation for us to be in, frankly, because generally our wells and water sources have been near where there's existing customers of ours. So it hasn't been anything we had to.
Well, this last test site is within probably 250-300 feet from our property.
Mhm.
Well, we're pretty curious on.
Sure.
How.
And just, and not for nothing, have you noticed any changes in your well water quality?
Oh, really, I've been monitoring it. No, I haven't noticed sediment, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know as far as chemicals or whatever else.
Yeah.
Plus, it always gets drawn down into the aquifer, doesn't it? Or water you pump.
Yeah, and again, Matt is the expert on how far that gets drawn from, but,
That'll be a big issue, I think.
if, it really depends on the kind of well that you have, like Matt said. If it's a dug well, one that, you know, the old timers had, and, you know, they got frogs and stuff, farmers happen a lot, right? Use it for cows or whatnot. You're probably not gonna drink water out of that well in 2026, and if you are, you wanna test it a lot. But, most people have a bedrock well, right? So it goes down in a bedrock, and that's gonna be a different kind of water source than what you'd see from the sand and gravel aquifer. So they're
It'll
kind
be a
of,
long while. If the ground was contaminated, getting down into the.
yeah, and it's weird too, like you can drill a well, we just did this, in fact, sand and gravel aquifer near Triangle, we had a problem with one of our wells. Imagine that there's straws in the ground and the straws have a screen at the bottom. So because it's in sand and gravel, you dig a hole at the beach and it fills it with water, and it's fun to do that. This is really not altogether different, same sort of mechanism. So you put your screened straw on the ground, and after a while, stuff builds up and clogs that screen up. It's not uncommon. So after 20 years or so, you probably have to clean it. So we're looking at this and say, maybe that well is not great. We should find another one right next to it. So we drilled a couple of holes right in the property we own, right near an existing well. Nothing really came up that was anywhere near as good as that one site. Was just strange that that one was outstanding and nothing nearby was quite so good. So it's an inexact science, but the work that Matt's done is definitely science.
Geology is an inexact science.
Of course.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you drive, one of my,
Well, even the wells that are out on that property now are quite different. Some of them are higher production than others. It's all sandy. So it's all good storage, but it's not all, you can't pump the same
You
amount.
can't really see what's down there. You don't really know. You do test borings for days and still be off, and still be, you know, I mean, test borings are only, you know,
All you gotta do is go look at the sand and gravel pattern in a little braided stream, you know, up in the watershed, and you think, oh, that's what it looks like underground layered on top of each other. It's complicated.
how long do you think before we could get an answer? Would it be months before we get an answer about, creating databases and baselines as far as, wells go?
it sounds like just developing, and we already have wells in the ground. It's a question of
Yeah, I mean, I
having
think,
more monitoring wells, and then at the end, I guess the end game is what I'm most interested in. Let's say we measure the water levels over the course of years or what have you, and if nothing changes, do we then
You're
stop?
talking
it?
about your monitoring wells, right?
Correct,
What
yeah.
about database on our wells? That's what I'm asking about.
Oh, I don't know what you're gonna do. I can't do anything on a private well. That's your own well. We're not allowed to touch any private.
If I have if a third party hydrogeologist comes in and does that, correct?
You could hire somebody, but we
Well,
would,
I guess utility district
we would
pay
be,
for that,
we
correct?
would be pretty loath to spend, we have a long history of spending money on private property. We're really not allowed to do it. It
So
puts us in,
where's my legal, if I can't, say I can't afford to bring in a hydrogeologist to do a static test on my well, or my neighbors can't, and then down the road, we don't have that quality and quantity for our well, where's our leg to stand on?
I'm no attorney. I couldn't advise you on that.
Yeah, and I don't want, that's the one thing, I don't think any of us want to do is get attorneys
Right,
involved.
no, and I mean, we have we have attorneys, they're friends and they're fine, but yeah, I agree, they're expensive too.
Right,
So to the extent that in a normal situation like this, we'd have a sand and gravel aquifer well, like the one we're developing now. You'd install some wells nearby, a couple inches in diameter, and we measure those levels, and that would tell us what that zone of influence is you were talking about before. And that would be stuff that we could do on our own because we'd be on our property, we only control that. And then for that, we could say, well, okay, here's the levels, you guys are welcome to see the data, and then make your own conclusions about what that data means to you. And I suppose at the end of the day, I mean, if I were in your shoes, if water's still coming out of my well plenty, then I guess I'm okay with that. So I don't know if that answered your question.
yeah, okay.
But that's
I
how,
think there should be a baseline created, and I don't think the neighbors should have to pay for it.
right, and in that case, that creates a baseline that you don't have to pay for. That's what I'm explaining.
But that creates and no offense
Mhm.
to you, Matt, that creates a baseline for, Matt works for the Greater Augusta Utility District, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, nothing, hey, the third party guy could come up with the same information as you. I'm not saying Matt's a liar or anything like that.
offended.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not the first rodeo.
And I think that,
I hear what you're saying, but we're not in the business of lying to ourselves. And so if we're gonna put in test wells between the production well and your properties, we want accurate data out of that. Utilities operate, generally speaking, on a kind of 100-year run. So the last thing we want to do as folks that are accountable to the public is spend a bunch of money to have it go bad in 2 years. That looks bad for all of us. And so our interest is in kind of stability and longevity. And I understand your point of, so is yours. I think at a point, there's gotta be a level of trust that you either have or don't have in the utility, and we can't help that. But we are willing to get some pretty good data on what that water looks like.
So I have a question about just how much you're gonna pump out of there, that area. Is that going to change over time?
That's those guys.
Oh, so, the question was how much water we're gonna pump out of it
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
What are we designing for? So then we have to talk about design flow versus what we expect to actually.
So in a normal well, you know, over time, unmaintained, we'll see a loss of capacity. Our goal is to not see that loss, so we would clean the well and we would
How many gallons?
restore that capacity. This site, you know, it should be capable of 500,000 gallons a day to maybe 1 million gallons a day, somewhere in that range. So it's a lot of water, yes.
Yeah, it started
And
going down the
we wouldn't
ditch
be
in Bottom
looking-
Brook.
We wouldn't be looking if it wasn't a lot of water. Most of our wells will pump over 600 gallons a minute. So
How many gallons a day?
this is, you know, pump test was 550 gallons a minute that you saw along Mount Vernon Road. Which is 750,000 gallons.
Should, help with drilling wells. You know, how deep your wells are?
It is. My well's 133 feet deep,
Bedrock.
gravel.
Right.
Yeah, 133 feet of casing.
You never expressed any loss.
Okay.
How about you?
I don't know how,
Well,
it wasn't important to me how deep it was.
I guess I'm just looking. But then we had to talk about monitoring.
No.
They're all in rows.
They're all in rows.
We still have the
Same thing, yeah.
Well, yeah. That's gravel or bedrock.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. They don't help deep, seriously. We don't know how deep.
Yeah, at 150.
150, 130.
130.
I'm in between both.
That should be-
I think
You're around 120-ish.
Okay, so you're all over 100 feet.
Correct.
But yes, you know, we all have great water. We've always had great water. And you know what? We may never have any problems with it. But we're here today to protect ourselves.
I was just wondering if there were any.
No.
That could.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Keith,
Matt,
Yeah,
have you completed all the pumping tests you're going to complete?
we've completed the pumping test. You get two phases, one at 340, one at 550 rate. So yeah, at this point, we don't have anything else planned as far as pumping goes. We need to look at the data that we have and so forth. Okay, yeah, right. So yeah, we can't pump much more out of it. We have an 8-inch diameter well, and that's about all we can pump out.
So that would need any of the state permitting requirements to pumping test.
Yes, yeah, right. Go ahead.
And so will we be doing some monitoring wells anyways? Whether they were here or not, would we be doing monitoring wells?
oh yeah, we have a handful.
That's what I thought. So I need to understand that
Well, we do that as standard engineering practice, right? So, yeah, we need to know more than anybody what that cone of influence is, so we're not over pumping it. That's paramount. I mean, you just can't, it doesn't make any sense to do that at all. So that's why when Andy's saying, well, we can pump in this range, we're not gonna exceed the limits. It's gonna impair that amount. We certainly don't want to be bad neighbors.
So how far are you from the Manchester line with that wellhead?
I don't know. I'll have to check.
If you go perpendicular to it, we're close to,
Well, yeah, just
300 feet.
just to the
maybe.
west.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
So if you
it's-
go
it's-
west,
If you go straight west, it's
It's
200
less
feet,
than,
maybe.
yeah.
150 feet.
from the Manchester line, okay.
Right.
So you haven't, so monitoring wells you haven't put any monitoring wells on private land, so you've only gone west of that well, 200 feet with any monitoring well?
We've extended to the north, we've extended to the
But
south.
west, you've only gone 200 feet max, because you're not on private,
Correct,
you'd be
yes.
on private property then, right?
Yeah.
So that's not very far as cone of influence and determining that, is it?
Well, yeah, again, I think we have a sense of in a different direction, so we can,
Sense,
we can,
sense.
no, we can extrapolate for sure with what we have. You know, I'm the scientist. I would always like to get more further and yeah, but no, I think we have a good database of wells that helped us
So
draw.
it's theory and sense. beyond that 200 feet. It's science, it's theory, you know, hey, it's done this. I'm gonna guess it's this far out, basically what.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
says.
right, we can project beyond the actual places that we have data, that we have measurements.
Is 200 feet, is 200 feet for a monitoring well off a wellhead sufficient as far as cone of influence goes? When some of the cone of influence can radiate thousands of feet?
Well, yeah, this site doesn't have, this site doesn't have thousands of feet cone of influence based on what we've seen so far.
Okay.
We know from the data that we do have, in some of the wells around 500 or more feet, that this well isn't gonna have a 3,000 foot cone of influence.
Even over time, you know that. That's fact, or is that just science?
Well,
As far as-
I wouldn't want to split the hairs between fact and science too much. But, no, and that depends on what the final pumping rate is. That's the other thing that we haven't really nailed down yet, is what's the final sustainable pumping rate. We have data that we're, working on, and that we're going to continue to monitor the current baseline conditions. So this, as I said at the beginning, we've got some really key data, and we're going to continue to refine the way that the site is developed, if you will.
So us coming in and voicing our concerns is basically, how do I want to put it? It's, hey, we're doing our due diligence. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. Does that basically kind of sum it all up?
No, I think we're still doing our due diligence. I'm not saying.
No, I'm saying you guys are, hey, you're telling the neighbors, hey, we're doing what we got to do. Don't worry about it. Is that what
I don't think anybody can tell you how to feel.
Not feel. I'm talking about, don't worry about your future water supply. Don't worry about the quality of it. We got it under control.
Again, I don't, and it's like buying insurance or whatever. It's a measure of, if you believe that this is something that's going to cause a risk to your existing water system, there's probably not much I can do or say to change that for you.
So if you're saying, it's not gonna cause a risk, correct? Are you saying that?
Based on what we've seen so far and the experts we've talked to, it doesn't look like it will.
Can we get that right?
I'm saying it out loud, but there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees in life, right?
Keith, how did you guys?
I have the hydrogeologist too. One simple concept, you're talking about distance from the pumping well, or is it my well versus the monitoring well? If, for example, if you don't see drawdown 300 feet from the pumping well, you're not gonna see drawdown 500 feet beyond it. That defines the boundary. Ever, yes. The sand and gravel, you're not gonna see an effect beyond that closest monitoring well back. It's not showing. So, and the second point, you're talking about science and fact, and the science has been established. So if you say it's this kind of aquifer, this pumping rate, and the data we have shows this.
Right.
It's proven science, not proven science,
Right,
but it's
right.
established science.
Enough
That
data
even though we haven't collected data for every single point, that's how science works, is through the years, we know this is what's going to happen.
Understood.
So just trying to relieve you that it's really pretty well studied, and nobody wants to make any kind of a mistake. And certainly there aren't any ulterior motives here of just running over a citizen.
No.
Complete opposite. So anyway, I guess we're in conclusion, you are gonna have to trust us as a board, as a utility. And I'm assuming you want data shared with you and have input on what they're looking at. So it's not like see you later. We're done.
Right. So if we trust you as a utility, is it a big deal to get something like that in writing from the Greater Augusta Utility District for us residents?
I mean, if you want me to write you a letter that says, based on our best judgment, it looks like you're gonna be okay. I mean, again, I could have that based on whatever scientific analytics we have, but that doesn't mean that your well won't ever go dry. if you're looking for a guarantee from anybody at the utility district, your well won't go dry someday, or it could collapse, or any number of things that have maybe nothing at all to do with this proposed production well.
Right, but I mean,
You know what I mean? So, so that would be a challenge. There's no guarantees in life, and this is environmental science.
I knew it would be a challenge.
Well, like I said, though, what I'm trying to do is help with Matt and Keith and the work we've done and the work that's been done in these kinds of aquifers all around the country, just to try to put your minds at ease that this is a little different. It's certainly not our intent to harm anybody or anything. And based on what we're seeing, it doesn't look like that's going to happen based on all these other wells that have been done. We're not going anywhere. We've been here since 1903. So this building here turned 100 this year. So we're committed to the area and we want to be good neighbors. The alternative, I suppose, if I own that property, I might want to sell it to McGee and they could just be, tires are cheap, I guess. So, so somebody else could come in and mine all that out, and there might be a host of concerns with that kind of operation where you're actually.
Yeah, that's been our concern over the years, has been the mining that's going on, and now this is like, oh, what about?
So I guess, again, and I can't speak for you, obviously, but putting those two competing interests or, a number of housing lots with a whole bunch of septic systems, what I can guarantee you is we're not putting a whole bunch of septic systems out there. We're not building housing lots. We're not mining gravel anywhere near these properties. Right. So hopefully that does put you a little bit at ease.
Well, I think I could probably speak to the board and say, probably be happy to share once Matt looks at the data and has a report together. I'm assuming they'd be happy to share those results with you right there. And
that's all. That's public knowledge anyway. For us, yeah.
Right.
Well, I would say is a board here, 20-something years here in this district. Remember, we're water, sewer, and storm, and water is regulated by the PUC. So this topic we're talking about tonight is all regulated by the PUC. Not that that's the best comfort, but my point being is that safe water is what we're trying to do and in protecting everybody. And so we're not going to do things. And frankly, and again, I expect you guys to come in and ask, and I'd be doing the same thing if I lived where you guys live too. So I think it's right. I will also say these board meetings are open. And anytime you're welcome to come in. That we televise these and record them. That's how transparent this district is. Try to find others in the state who won't see all this. And we've been doing it for I don't know how many years now. So I really mean it. If it's something that you don't come see us, you're welcome to come to this meeting, and it's friendly. It's not going to be hostile because it's not how this trustee board or no other district has ever acted. I will tell you that based on what I see out there is that there's a lot of pressure from mining, and you talk about spills. We're not being spills. I mean, we have wells right now that's right beside the highway, and I think I saw an overturned truck one day there. Talk about challenges.
Oil 95 already.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I obviously got it found it. So my point is, I think that having us as a neighbor, we're going to be a good neighbor. We want to be a good neighbor. Sure. And we want to know if we're not a good neighbor. The trustees, I can tell you, want to know that in a heartbeat, but we have credibility with all these people that work for us and our general manager and the people that we hire. We try to hire the best. But seriously, more than welcome to come here all the time. We can do what we can. You can have all our data. We're not going to do anything to wreck things. That's not how this operation works. Water districts in Maine, how they're regulated. I mean, that's your best neighbors. To be really honest with you, it's your best source of neighbors because we have to protect this stuff because it's a natural resource. So,
Hey, Ken?
Yeah.
Trustee Corey would like to speak.
Yes, please.
Bob, yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sure. I got a couple of questions, and this is my concern as a trustee. I have not heard any God employee state don't worry about it at all for in the future. You can't tell the future what happens, as Brian has pointed out on that thing. And we have very good people who give good reports. And basically it boils down to, like any other thing, if you don't believe the reports, you no trust, then please go out and do independent studies of doing that. We're trying to be good neighbors in doing that. And then Matt, on your one slide that you had where you showed the well and then you had the lines going outwards to showing the
Yep.
effects of it. I'd like to know how many people who are there speaking are concerned citizens, and we'd like to hear from the concerned citizens. Are any of those people in those houses or the homes that are shown on that slide?
They know nothing about it.
John, you're on that slide right there, right?
Well, we are, but
Probably, I
the
can't
neighbors
tell them.
below us know nothing. They just see water flowing through. They don't know what's going on. They're young kids and they don't know what's going on. Nobody, no, that's not a problem. Nobody approached us.
Nobody knocked on our
Nobody
door.
told
You guys
us.
want to be good neighbors, but nobody
They're our
knocked on the door.
neighbors.
We just
They're our
saw
neighbors that's
hundreds of
doing
thousands
this.
of gallons of water
Never
running
told us.
down the ditch.
It would have been nice to be told what the hell is going on. We see water flowing through and we're like, hear pounding going on. My horses are freaking out. I don't know what's going on. Nobody told us. If you're gonna be good neighbors, you need to tell people what's going on in their
What will they
community, in their neighborhood. It's not right, you know? Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad and taken so bad if you would have come to us and told us.
So how
Yeah.
far away, how
You know?
far away those homes? Is that over 2,000 feet or how far away from the wells is that?
None of the homes are over.
Looks like about 600 on
Yeah.
GIS anyway.
Well, we got, well, I was about 600 feet, I'd say, for test well.
I believe, so, yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of the homes are approaching 1,000 and more feet away.
Yeah.
I think, John, you're the closest property to that.
Yeah, probably be 253 right across the road.
Yeah.
So that was
Thank you.
part of the stipulations on us too, right?
I appreciate that information and I appreciate, whenever a resident, ratepayers and the residents of Augusta comes forward and voices their concerns, because we don't know if we don't hear from you. So thank you for coming forward.
I think the message I get quite clearly is that we can up our communication game as we always try to do, and that's very evident what I just heard here. So, that's why we have a communication person and we will keep improving that. I mean, that's an easy to do for these people. And I'm not gonna go back and go through what it, but that I heard it. And I think we can at least do better with that and we will. It's very easy to make that change and I think it's good to hear from some people that we need to do that more. We always know we need to communicate better. We've learned that over the years and while we think we do a good job sometimes,
It builds trust,
I get it.
you
And
know?
I will
When you're
tell
not-
you
When you're
though,
not out front with us,
Yeah.
we put up a wall and say, hey, what the hell are they trying to do to us?
I do think that while we do much better than we ever did, we certainly use a lot of our online presence is great. People use not everybody uses online presence, so we're very open to what we do there, but we need to always have the reminder that not everybody, a lot of people are analog, not everybody's digital, and I understand that, and we try to do our best with that. So, again, any other questions? We're interested tonight, but I also, if you need other questions, come back and at some point we'll be making a,
Or if you think of something tonight or tomorrow, you don't have to wait a whole month.
Yeah.
Call the office.
But yeah, one small one.
but
Well, on that property, that all the testing's going on, there was gravel pit there. It was filled in. I always remember driving dogs, he telling me, well, I wonder what kind of contaminants they hauled in there from the hospital site. So I always kind of wondered, you know, you're testing for pollution as far as, you said it's gonna take a while. As far as pumping the water to what pollution will turn up in the aquifer.
Can you bring that image up again on the map change, please?
That will draw pollution.
Whereabouts? It's John, right? Is your name?
Yeah, John.
Where-
It's over here, it's where the fill zone was.
And that's from hospital construction,
Yeah.
So,
They
early
reclaimed-
2000s?
They used hospital fill.
Yeah, right around in there, yeah.
No, that's right.
Is that the
Oh,
light?
that should have
colored
been super
area?
heavily regulated.
Is that the light colored area?
Roughly, yes. It's on,
Oh.
There's other pits though, that they drop stuff in up above us, which is on that same app going up.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about it earlier about, you know, we've had concern with pits over the years, you know, and it's like, years ago, how'd they change the oil in those trucks? Full of blood, do stuff like that, you know, I mean, that's stuff that went on. Did they have fuel spills when they were fueling trucks there, that they, you know, all that stuff. And then over time, because of that sand, it filters very well. You know, my father was like, oh, sand don't filter that. Can't do that, right? You know, over time, with rainwater and everything, it will make it down.
What about PFAS?
That's the main issue there.
We have.
Well, that was kind of the whole.
I mean, it's a field, they farm that field.
Right, so
How
we,
do you know?
we have looked at water quality in really extensive detail. And so, both, you know, near the well and down near the house as well, and haven't found any significant contamination, that are the things of the things that would move the quickest. So fuel, solvents, those kind of things, or PFAS. So we've looked for all those things, and haven't found any, you know, that without digging up all the dirt. It's a little hard.
I got one for you, Matt.
Yeah.
What's the closest private well that you have to any of your wellheads within the district?
Oh, as it exists today?
Yes.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think all the Bond Brook residents, those are all pipes, right? Those are all.
I don't know if anybody has, sometimes they'll have a connection to us, and then they'll have a separate connection for a garage or something.
I was just wondering how
Yeah,
close.
it's good. It's a good
Private
question.
well was to any.
Right, yeah.
So what Andy's looking at now is the intersection of Layton Road and Bond Brook Road.
It's on top of the hill, it goes back to private,
Yeah.
right, Andy?
Yep.
Near the cemetery?
Yeah, so those blue lines on this image are drinking water
Yeah.
pipes. So,
I don't say service, but
but generally, because that was installed in the fifties, I think if anybody had a problem with the well, they just hooked on to us. But
Yeah.
I don't know about Mr. Arnold, if he's got his own well up there or not. So,
So, yeah, I don't know about, right.
yeah, we might have some close by.
but yeah, I couldn't say off the top of my head.
Yeah, it goes right to the top of the hill, I think, where the cemetery is. Oh, it goes up the lake. Oh, that's right, to the fire station. It's gotta feed that.
Yeah, there's actually,
Not this way.
there's a gap between the two. That's another hydraulic limitation we have.
Go
We're trying to
Civic Center
fix.
Drive out to serve that area.
Do all your folks live on Mount Vernon Road?
The big driver of this well was PFAS. That was really the
That's
big driver
right.
because of the standards that, you know, we all want change down low. But with that comes this. And for years, we were at 70 parts per trillion and everybody was fine. And then we got to 20 and that wasn't good enough. And frankly, the state wants to get to 0. So our counter out you'd ever do when you get to 0. I don't know how you do that, but having said that, is I think this district is always going to comply with whatever the laws and the rules are and our licenses are. And
So you did get federal money for this project,
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanna say it. I know you guys can tell me, oh, we talked about it. I didn't know if is there any federal money that would help private well owners do what I asked?
Nothing that we can get to you. That's the problem. I'll give you a good example.
Yeah,
We talk about the board all the time. We actually have to go to the legislature for. You've heard of lead pipes, obviously, not just like plain cool, but you know, lead's bad. Nobody wants lead in their water. You heard about Michigan, serious issues. Well, we were required by EPA to find lead pipes, whether we own the pipe or the customer owns the pipe. And right now, I think we found 10 lead service lines between the valve where we disconnect the service for a customer if it needs to be disconnected, or when it's new, they're gonna build a house or whatever. So between there and their house, we found 10 of them. We know where they are. We know they're lead. And we can't replace them because we're not allowed to invest public money into private systems, even though that's the right public health move. That's the EPA's decision. That's the local drinking water program's decision. There's no good reason in the world why we can't do this, apart from the fact that we can't do it legally. So we're really constrained by that kind of thing. Now, that being said, there are other places you can look for that will give you a grant to look for, say, PFAS in your water potentially, and you just have to suss those out. And if I'm trying to think, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that might help you buy a thing you put in your well to measure the level. I was talking to Matt, there could be a way where you could give us an easement, put a a well in on your property, we'd have an easement to do that. And then measure that on your property, then it wouldn't be in your well, just open it up the top of the well and dropping stuff in and out all the time.
Yeah, you don't wanna do that.
Oh, and you don't want us driving around in your yard either. And, you know, so it gets a little squirrely fast, but, there could be some options, down the road to talk about, and that would be a way for us to legally do work on someone else's property with legal permission, that wouldn't cost you anything.
We have talked about it. We
So,
have talked about it, and as far as monitoring well, and, you know, I mean, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
so and from this, for me, again, I've worked here for 25 years. As the first time I met all you guys, as far as I know. I went to Marina Cook, my kids are in Marina Cook, so I'm embedded in the community, worked here. So doors pretty much always open. As far as I'm concerned, this is kind of day one of better communications going forward.
and did you know about the 5 acres, Brian?
I've heard about it, but I don't know if that's still a thing, so
I don't know who created I know, one of the selectmen talked to me earlier today, and,
who knows?
Deb had looked for paperwork in the office.
So Pat,
She couldn't find it.
Pat Gilbert, who was the
Yes.
manager, works for us 2 days a week now, and I asked him about it, and he thinks it was 5 and now it's lower than that, but he couldn't remember off the top of his head, and we're
He
gonna
even
ask.
told Brian Dostey, not in the, just in the near past, that it was still 5 acres.
Okay, yeah,
So
Keegan
he
would
would
probably
know
be
more
our
than
best
anybody.
source, yeah, he would be the guy I would ask as well,
Good.
but I don't know, and if you guys find it, just shoot me an email to say, yeah, here's
Bob, can you answer that question for?
Overton.
Robinson can
We
answer.
were just talking about it the other day, and I can't remember if he said it was 5 and they dropped it to 2,
Yeah, that's what I heard.
but you might ask Rob.
So I know Brian Dostey asked Keegan about doing something with his property, and he said, yes, this was just a few months back. He said, yeah, as long as you got 200 feet of frontage and 5 acres. So it was still 5 acres where we are. It's only a small spot, right up in there.
So
You know, aquifer overlay. So
Keegan, can't Keegan answer that question for you?
he did answer it, I think.
Oh, he did. Oh,
That was
okay.
Keegan that told Brian that, yeah. So I guess I'm not pounding on it. It's like, this was created and nobody knows where the paperwork is, why it was created. Town of Manchester doesn't know. It's like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
and we certainly didn't do, we can't create laws, or
Right.
ordinances in other towns. We can't even create them in Augusta, so.
I remember when I asked Pat years ago, I said, was that created, Pat, to protect the city of Augusta's water supply, right? And he goes, yes. That's how Pat Gilbert answered me years ago when he was down
Yeah,
there.
and maybe, I mean, but it has nothing to do with any kind of, what it has to do now today with maybe, a well in the future, but it's pretty forward thinking to do that in the 90s, you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
yeah, it was definitely forward thinking and it's been in place, because I know when I built my house was 1996. And when I built my garage out back, a couple of years later, code enforcement officer was like, told my father when I got the permit, he goes, Gary's only got 2 acres there. He was supposed to have 5.
Yeah.
That was all the way back in 1996. So I know it was created before that.
Any other questions or anybody have any other
Just
questions?
after you moved that there.
It had to be after because I.
Just after you moved in there.
Any other questions?
No, we gotta let you move on.
Thank you for coming. And again, the
Yeah.
door is open. This
Thanks.
is not a one-way street.
Oh, no, we'll talk again. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For coming.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you,
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Seeing you, sir.
Good seeing you, Gary.
All right. Nice meeting you.
take care.
Okay, let's move on to, some old business and, approval of minutes, the last meeting.
Move to, accept board meeting minutes from May 18, 2026.
So I hear a second? Second, Tim. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Bob? You oppose or favor?
Said he's in favor.
He says he's in favor.
I'm in favor.
Thanks, sir. Okay, next is the rate committee update. We need that tonight.
The only
Basically-
thing, Go ahead, Bob.
Basically, I think it's been, gone very well. I've not known very many, questions, concerns, or what, Mike and Brian's put in the, agenda for tonight, for the starting the new rates and the dates and everything else. And that's pretty much it, on that thing. And I think, any other questions Brian or Mike can answer?
Oh, yeah, all I wanted to do is echo that and included the schedule of rates, because oftentimes that's what people might ask you as board members. Hey, you know, my bill went way up, well, it hasn't yet until these go into effect. So just so you guys are aware.
Great. Anything else? Moving on then.
Yeah. One quick question for Brian. Brian, where are we at on that getting together with somebody to review our rate process?
Oh, Mike can give you that update.
Yep, so we, at this point, we've provided, Ty and Bond, all the financial information they've asked for, so we're kind of waiting to hear back from them on additional needs or, you know, any of their work they're doing. I think we haven't scheduled time yet to meet to go over what they've done so far. So,
Okay, because I'd like to have the rate committee involved for, that's the beginning of the discussions, when you guys meet with them.
yeah, I think that when we do that next, we'll have them just try to plan it during we can do a rate committee actually meeting and have them do it during that.
Yeah, the other thing we do, Bob's good idea is to get a timeline together to show, we know about when they want to get done. Ideally, I'd have it done before the October board meeting. But if it's not until November, that's not the end of the world either. But we'll see if we can get a schedule in place. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to project updates, Andy.
All right, well, big round of applause for.
That's perfect. I'll just go to.
Online, we cannot, pump into the system yet. We're still waiting for our lab testing to come back to confirm feedback. But we did all the other sections came back and we're good to go once that happens. The photo here is just the process of putting the toadstool media into a tub of water and slurring it into the pressure vessels inside the building. So.
Oh, no, I mean, pass the media around.
Oh, and we are testing two mediums. This is the Dowex PSR2 Plus ionic, and this is, try not to spill it too. That's the HC7. So the second one is a regenerative media, and we're testing them head to head, and we'll be doing quarterly samples of efficiency to see if it's going to be cost advantageous to consider one or the other. Replace it hopefully in a couple of years.
Is it spent media or fresh?
That's fresh.
So, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So flavor.
It's PFAS free.
Don't stick your finger in it.
So yeah, our team did a great job. I just wanted to give a big shout out to everybody that Fresh told it. So.
Just so you guys have an idea of what that costs, that little thing of 250 million is about $3. So the cost per cubic yard is $15,000. So next time you complain
What about taking it away, that price?
well, let's not talk about it. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's supposed to be a happy occasion. That's when you buy the new stuff, they include the cost of removal.
So I think Andy asked this question before. What was the one that KKW decided they wanted to try to get away from or try something else?
GAC.
Granular activated carbon. It was, they were using, burnt, coconut husk. That was their carbon.
Which works really well. It could be spendy. It's all spendy.
Yeah, it's
Getting rid of it is just spend.
this is from conversations years ago, but they were, early to the game, so they did a bunch of learning for all of us. They believed initially, and their contractor believed that the recharge rate on the carbon would be significantly better than it actually is. The original idea was you buy new carbon, use it, refire it, clean it, use it again. You could continue that. And what they found, and what everybody else has found too, is that it doesn't recharge at the same rate that makes it super financially advantageous.
But, okay. But any,
So the other part of mitigating our PFAS is the new source. We spent a lot of time tonight talking about where our new source is. We are looking for a recommendation later on in executive session to move forward in North Augusta. The other site, on the city property near Layton Road, we're still working with DEP. Matt's gonna put together a report for us so we can start talking to the DEP's hydrogen experts, to see if it's permissible under the current covenants to actually do a water withdrawal that would support. So, that is still in the works and we're still pursuing that.
so based on what you heard tonight, there's no reason to have that vote, not to have that vote tonight, right?
I don't know, what do you, I would put that to Keith, Taylor, actually. I mean, based on what you heard from the folks here, what you heard from that, is there anything that would give you pause for us to proceed? Okay.
We're following standard operating procedures and predictable results and more data analysis to do.
I mean, in a
That's kind of what I
nutshell,
thought, but I like that answer.
we monitor the well point with the transducer. We monitor monitoring wells with transducers that are online in our SCADA system, you know, that we trend. And we will know when we get a disruption. And, you know, since we've been working with Matt, we put in monitoring wells at other wellheads to kind of keep track of that. So we'll know if we have a problem with our specific capacity or our well screen or the whole groundwater table around it.
And did I hear tonight that if push comes to shove, we could get some easements and put some monitoring wells somewhere else?
Yeah,
If we
that's-
needed to.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
that's
so
a,
that's nice to
that's a
have.
way forward that
It's
solves.
just as an option.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go right and do it, but I would say I liked hearing that. Thank you for that tonight, Matt. I think that,
Yeah, well,
I think thinking about that a little bit, it will make more sense.
Right.
That was a lot for one thing, but
Well, and I wanted to, I made a note to myself to get with Andy to just sort of understand a little bit better where the individual people live
That was a big
and,
question.
and how, you know, how close the fellow who's right across the street
Yeah,
there.
that John guy, yeah.
That he may, you know, if he's got a gravel well instead of a bedrock well, and I don't know the answer to that, that might be a good candidate. Cause it wouldn't be bad to have some more data in that direction anyway. So, yeah, there's.
I'm pleased to hear that because that kind of really, and really answers some questions there. I mean, I think, I know what they're asking. I would probably do the same thing if I was in their shoes, but no, right here, it's not, no, right? You know, so but I thought we did a very good job of that. We talked about tonight.
Good. How far down, just, I'm following. I recall, just, but how far down before you actually will hit some water? Because they had wells that were over 100 feet. deep.
Yeah, the water table on the Dusty property is around 30-35 feet below ground.
They've got 70 feet more at minimum.
Correct.
70 plus feet.
Yeah, and I think that's, if they live around the corner, up the hill a little bit, it might be deeper to water, so they might have a little less thickness, but by and large,
Would it be more than 100 feet?
no, they probably all have plenty of water. And that's sort of why I asked the Doug well question. As far as I know, everybody's got
Well,
a well that would have plenty of water.
110 and I heard they weren't quite sure,
Yeah.
you know, but it was over 100.
Right, right.
Keep
So,
This,
Sorry, for everybody.
no, one of my thoughts, during, you know, of course, we shared their concern, but then a point came up, which we're all well aware of the McGee pits that are almost equidistant. I mean, you want to talk about a risk to their water quality and volume. Things happening and changing at the McGee site, you know, that could have a significant potential impact, could for us too. And the notion of this being a three-party situation, but we become, through some kind of agreement, the only actionable entity. That's not a good place for a utility district to be. The notion that their water quality is impacted and, oh, you know, McGee's, you know, excavating something over here in a new place and had an impact on the system out of our control, but they don't have, or they don't have an agreement or something to act against them, they can only act against us. That's not a good place.
There's no controls on what's going on in those bids? Well, I mean, they're licensed.
Correct, correct, and they're not necessarily doing anything.
So this is an enforcement issue.
Or a potential, it's turning a necessarily or unnecessarily, a blind eye to the elephant in the room is the major gravel extraction operation that is equidistant to everything we're talking about.
But what I'm gonna ask our communications person tonight is, my opinion, which I don't communicate well, is that thank God it's the great utility space coming beside my place to do it. How do I say that to them? I mean, Brian, you and I can think back over some other things that have happened, and while we think this is all great, we didn't communicate it to somebody, and I'm wondering, thinking about this tonight, is like, how do I feel that? How do I get them to feel that way? Well, it sounded like I'm just some idiot from the greater Augusta, you gotta be good, you know, that's the communication message. I think, Keith, did you have any?
Yeah, I'm assuming that you'll request or you'll request whatever well information all those folks have. And so,
Yeah, I think it's just an ongoing conversation,
Right.
trying to,
he can't do his analysis if he doesn't know where the depth, or at least as much as they know.
which is a great way to start talking to people and trying to understand their fears and explain
We're working
How
together here.
how the hydrogeology is different and maybe, and hopefully that alleviates your fears. I wasn't trying to be snippy when I said, I can't make you feel one way or another. I can try to give you some information and hopefully you believe it. If you don't, I can do my best to make you believe it.
It might mean a lot if you even end up showing, okay, here's the map with all of your wells, that's gonna give them some comfort. Oh, there I am, there's, okay, a little better.
Yeah.
Little bit along.
I would presume that they've all had their wells tested.
I wouldn't.
You don't know that.
They're under no obligation to do
They're
so.
under, as they're looking at it.
It's recommended. It's recommended, but there's no
Okay.
enforcement authority that says private wells have.
Then they're on their own in that respect.
Yeah, so, and, you know, at my house, I haven't tested our water in 20 years. And here I am in this business, but we don't drink it either.
A remedy that they quickly, I think, which they took off the table is whether it's contamination or an impact, but connecting them to the system is the right, that would be the likely negotiated solution.
Because you're right, they'd rather have their well.
Yeah, you can't blame, I can't blame somebody for that. And people find the taste of our water objectionable in some cases. So, you know, again, I can't change the taste buds either. But if you look at one of those other wells, we had asked how close is the nearest private well to our existing wells, then can't answer that question because since the 50s, if somebody's well went bad, they probably just hooked on us.
So it's all good question.
Yeah, and again, in hearing what it's done before, I again state, I heard nothing to state that God is doing anything wrong, that they've gone to great strengths investigating this thing. And if those people don't believe the findings, because you're sharing the findings, they need to make a decision on how they want to protect themselves on this stuff. I'm strongly behind the employees and officials on this thing, and also for moving forward.
Well, they're gonna have the results of all those tests, right? Yeah, in hand, they'll have that. They'll know exactly
Right.
what they've got in their water.
Like Keith, they will have a map that shows that wells close to this with that data. We can do that. And again, we'll talk about that with Merritt later on tonight, but I guess Merritt's gonna hand them.
I just wanted to add to the conversation around the communication side, that I believe, Brian, you have, or you're going to attend the Manchester council meeting, and also that you're, a bunch of you are meeting with Dan Chevroy, who's the representative from that neck of the woods. You guys are meeting
Yep.
him later this
Thursday.
week? Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday this week, and I'm waiting to hear from Manchester about when their meeting is and what
They
the.
suggested a private meeting. actually.
Ooh, the private meeting, nice.
Not, it didn't need to be, a town.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Necessarily, but, if they just get the concerned citizens in a room with us and we go through.
I'm sitting near the exit, that's all I'm saying.
So
that's fine.
we've done some things in a proactive way. Granted, I think they were born as a result of people sort of going, what was going on? And at this point, we could, based on, I think, the meeting, talking with Manchester people, what you've opened up and had a nice conversation with everybody tonight. Did you capture names, addresses of the folks that were present tonight by chance?
No, somewhat, Meredith, we'll play it back and probably figure it out.
We can get good.
Gary said he'd provide information.
Yeah, and we'll just ask him, just so we make sure that we start going forward. So we can game this out a little bit. Let's say that we go forward with this project. Well, that now becomes a communications project in addition to construction projects. So I guess that's every opportunity to start reaching out in a more proactive way and laying out what our schedule is and what to expect. And there's dirt on the road and so on and so forth. So then we can put some pictures together and say, when we're all done, this is what a well looks like. What your well, your backyard looks like. This doesn't look anything like that. It looks different. We're going to need a little building. This is what the building's going to look like, we think. And just go from there.
It's a kind of a tough thing. So the district kind of on a tough thing. We couldn't say much about anything because we're not talking about this in public.
Right.
Yeah. And so we were a little bit hamstrung with how much we could say about stuff without talking about what we don't want to talk about. Yeah. And the people were concerned about that.
And they were bringing some of that up.
So I'm going, geez, I could answer some of these questions, but then you can't.
Right.
So we were kind of hamstrung there, and I think we did a good job dancing around that tonight, everybody, but that's not the right words. But we did a good job of that and still maintain integrity with the people that we're gonna hopefully have a vote with tonight and do this. I think we've done what you said we would do, and not make it a public free for all. And I get it, you wouldn't hundreds of gallons of water down somebody's road, like what?
We should have thought that through a little better, but it's
okay. Moving on.
All right, I think we're through the PFAS stuff. Brooks and St. Catherine, all the utility work is done. The city of Augusta is rebuilding the road, so I think they're gonna try to wrap up in July. No updates on the trunk line 2 and 4 from Davenport Street. We've got an interesting photo of a tuberculated water main. Just mineral incrustation, but if you think about it, rusting from the inside almost. But 100-year-old pipe, and that's what we're taking out of the ground. So that was a recent photo of cutting a section out of the way. So we've got all the new water main in for this 1,000-foot stretch. All the services are cut in and online. We are about 50% of the stormwater work. So they're hoping to wrap up by July 4th.
That's a quick question, Andy.
Yes.
What size pipe is that?
That's probably a 6-inch.
One
So-
six.
But you can see, almost all of our online cast iron, that's what we're up against. Remember, these are, about $500 a foot to replace. We've got thousands and thousands of feet. It's kind of question.
Is that something you could put in the newsletter, or have we put it in the newsletter?
We have in the past, but it's certainly worth doing.
It's worthwhile.
In front of our website.
When people ask, well, why are you replacing, why are you digging up the street? And you show them that, like, why didn't you do it sooner?
Right.
Sorry.
I got a kick out of night when they talk about the grader. I got it all. It was like 5,600 repairs. Money to do everything.
Yeah.
Amherst Street, we have the easements to go across the Capitol Heights Plaza, and I'm just trying to find time to get that out to bid. So it's still on me right now. And Memorial Drive, Maya, project engineer, did a great job laying all this out, doing the heavy lifting on the thinking to try to snake a 30-inch pipe through all our existing utilities, the rotary and, this arterial. So
I have a question.
That red line, is that the line that's gonna actually happen?
Yeah,
And
correct.
the yellow line was in dispute or in trouble?
The yellow line was a thought before, and
Yeah,
we've since switched it to the
So
red
you're just
line.
going around it?
Yeah, and that'll go right to
That
gate.
30-inch pipe, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're looking at picking up a significant drainage area, over 60 catch basins, for this pipeline, so. Right now, we don't take in that much in the sewer, but we're trying to grow legs on this. So, good news, well, I think it's good news, so see if you guys think it's good news. We got a $2.75 million funding package from DEP, Clean Water SRF. $1 million of that is forgiveness money. So that tells me like, hey, we got more than a third paid for. We would need to move forward with that, so anyway, we got a good funding package to make that happen, and I believe we're gonna have support for that.
Sorry.
No,
Thank you.
Everybody put in
I
20
can't-
bucks.
oh, yeah. Appreciate that.
Eastern Ave water main replacement over a mile of main out here that we've identified a while ago because of all our main breaks last year, in leak prone areas. So we still have to decide how much of it we want to do, but we're probably.
But it's important for folks to understand it's the same kind of pipe that we just had a picture of,
Yeah,
right?
and we have a lot of valves that just don't shut off in the area. anymore. So
Serious.
We found that out with our leaks last year, our cutovers, this year. And so yes, we're doing some good work. We're planning for good work to happen. And if you saw the bathroom that we're finally wrapping in here, we're starting to track that progress, so hopefully it's done.
He's so
next
exposed, he's
month.
sitting there.
Oh, it's bananas. We waited a year. We waited a year.
But it has a couple of purposes.
Guys, I wasn't on
Obviously, it's
12.
for the meeting space, and we're trying to make it a gender neutral, site too. We have a female on our crew now, and so it'll be another necessary thing.
So they'll have a shower in it, the whole 9 yards, so it'll be good.
Are we doing that ourselves or?
All season home improvement
All season?
center. Yep, they're a low price on that. It's really hard to find carpentry, and it's crazy that it should cost anywhere near that much, but that's unfortunately what it costs, but it'll be nice to have a wall around the toilet again. That's something.
It's funny, Tim.
Oh, Water Street, that's the City of Augusta project to do some pump outs and some stormwater work. Yep, and it's a really good contractor, as I understand it, and they're running into all the things you would expect to find in a really old street in Augusta. So they're finding all of it. It's been really slow going for them. Yep, so they're not doing anything wrong. It's just a terrible place to work in. Yeah. Nobody's fault.
Any other questions for Andy? Hearing none, move on.
Alrighty then, okay, well, this is the best part of the meeting usually, if I get the data right. So, since, Mike and Andy are sitting right here, they were both hired, 5 years ago for Mike and 16 years ago for Andy. So, we appreciate all the work here. It's hard to believe that I've been working with Andy now for 16 years, and Mike, I would have guessed 2. Can't believe it's 5. It's just, time really does fly. So thank you guys both for being my right and left hands. It really is super helpful, and glad you're here. Dana Demos, I think a lot of folks know Dana. He was a Chimbro employee before he saw the light and became to go. And he's been here now for 14 years, which again, just it amazes me. But Dana's heart is humongous. A really, really good guy, and can weld up everything you can imagine, and has helped us a lot at our wastewater plant, and even on the PFAS project. Well, when we can't figure something out, we bring Dana in, and he's often got a different perspective for us to consider. It's been very helpful. Mike Shrest, we poached Mike from the City of Augusta some years ago, again, 16 years. And I think a lot of people know Mike, the absolute character. It makes the day go by. A lot of fun. He's one of our equipment operators, senior leadership now. and the road crew. It's good to have them. Dave Williams was another one of our 16-year. We hired a bunch of good people back then. He was on the road crew and now he's at the wastewater plant. I think that's his new forever home. He seems quite happy to be there. And last but not least is Rick and Air. I think a lot of people know Rick. He works in our engineering section and is out on the road a lot, does a lot of design for us internally, and has just been a tremendous pickup. We saved him from BIW back in the day. So that's where Rick is. Just so you guys are all aware, I think everybody knows the city of Augusta is moving to a 4-day work week. I'm not saying that we are or not. I was all well as well. So I'm not saying that we are or we're not. I'm just putting that on your radar to, if we do come to you and say we're considering doing this for certain parts of our operation, then it won't be any kind of surprise. And I also wanted folks to know that we are aware of what is happening next door and downriver too. 3 interns working for us. I think we talked about Harley and Silas in the last meeting, but our newest pickup is Jeff Lemieux. He's a mechanical engineer. We can't seem to get a civil engineer to save our lives, but we have a lot of mechanical engineers who are interested in working for us for the summer, and Jeff's no exception. He just started last week. He's going to Dartmouth in the fall as a freshman. Silas is going to be a junior. Harley is going to be a senior in college. So I'll always add a lot. Love having interns every year. Again, we already talked a little bit about the legislation to replace those lead consumer-owned service pipes. So I'll bring that up again. And then, because I was just curious, and I shouldn't be curious about stuff, but there's a National Water ISAC. They're basically a group of utilities nationwide, and they're looking for people to volunteer for a committee about physical security for water and sewer utilities. And I said, well, I work at a little tiny one up in Maine, but if you're interested, let me know. So looks like I wrote myself into that by accident. I should not be curious, but it's only like it's supposed to be an hour a month, so I'm not too worried about that one. Again, hopefully get way more out of it than I like how you put that in. I can put into it. So that's my plan. And with that, I'm going to hand off, unless there are questions, I'll hand off the rest to Mr. Mike.
So moving on to the states, and I just so that the board knows tonight, there will be no presentation for March.
All right. So May financial statements, revenue, water for the month at 2.9 million, and that's right in line with budget, and that's about $99,000 where we were last year. Expense side, 1.9 million, about 4% below budget, and about 23,000 below the same period last year. On cash side, so water began that month at 5.5 million in cash, at 590,000 in operating revenues. Expenses were just about 500,000, and capital projects were 497,000, ending the month at 5.1 million. Sewer division revenues were at 3.0 million. That's about 1% below budget and about 96,000 above same time last year. Expenses are 2 million, and that's about 6% below budget, 25,000 below same time last year. Cash flow, sewer started the month at 2.4 million at about 756,000 operating expenses, revenues rather. Expenses 244,000, and for projects were 76,000 for the month, ending at 2.8 million. Division. Revenue 1.8 million, that's about 1% over budget, and about 32,000 over where we were last year. Expenses running 1.2 million, and that's about 3% below budget, and about 22,000 above where we were last year. Cash side began the month at 3.5 million. We had 264,000 in operating revenues. Expenses at 169, and then cash at 3.6 million. So no surprise, things have been consistent, so no big surprises there.
So, I guess, I don't know if any questions for Mike. Again, you see up there, I kind of said what's going on, you don't want to really talk about that, audit, they didn't complete it. Nobody's gonna give it to the news people, so we're good.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put a couple notes together just to see where things are at. The biggest thing that was finally getting the 2024 audit, thankfully, behind us. And then 25's now it's kind of getting in the throes of that. So that's feels pretty good.
And listen, you gotta give Mike a lot of credit for doing this because,
Oh, yeah.
look, what you guys should know as trustees is that we have management that wants to do what we're supposed to do. So stuff can't happen. Mike has kept us all up to speed on what's going on. I'm very comfortable, as has Brian, and so Brian's got a lot of comfort that this has been going on. And I know it's been a struggle for Mike because normally as you close your books out, give it to the audit in a couple, 3 months, it's done. And then traditionally we've been a May annual meeting company, do our thing, done. And so people get back from that. That's why I'm be in it. It's not because Mike hasn't trying and I appreciate you get here. Not go there again.
That's been super frustrating. That deserves a lot of credit for sticking with it.
Right. So, anything else on that?
Only thing at the bottom, you just need a motion to accept that statement.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Looking for a motion. Could you,
Why are we doing motion for something we haven't seen?
it's the 2024 audited financial statement. Did
Right.
you want a presentation?
Didn't I not give people the link for that?
Oh,
If you haven't seen them, Bob, we'll just move it to the next month.
Yeah, we'll look at next month.
Okay, if they were, because
Yeah, no.
Okay,
it's not
no,
problem.
that's on me. I thought,
Nobody's made a motion, so
between
it's
Mike
fine.
and me, he thought I sent it, I thought he sent it, so apparently neither of us sent it, so
We'll do, Bob.
you'll have it.
Next month.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on, review of liens. There is no liens
No
review
liens.
in next month. We're gonna talk about the process, right? And Bob and Brian, talk about that, so that's gonna happen next month.
Mhm.
Communications update. Meredith.
Hi, guys. We're still communicating. We've been doing a great job with our inserts. I am the fly in the ointment on our newsletter, but Corey has promised to give me a kick in the butt to get that going. We've got no shortage of wonderful things to talk about. Most interestingly about the wells and the PFAS treatment and coming online. And we may try to write something up to actually go in the July insert. We've got a fallback one, Brian, but if I can get my act together and give me a good kick, that would be a fun thing to have in there, We will do the annual report for 2024. Whenever you guys finally approve that, I'll have it ready to go. We'll just add it to the web. And that's what we're working on and just we've had a lot of go back and forth on different issues, and Brian was great and brought me into the Manchester issue right off the bat. So we've had conversations and made that hopefully a little bit better. And we still need to work on our crisis plan. And yeah. But now that you're going to be an expert on physical issues with water, I think that's actually my largest sort of little fear in this weird world that we're in. So,
Yep.
And again, as always, guys, we've done a lot of website updates over the last month or so. And if you see things, hear things, get questions, or have an idea of something that your constituents would like to know a little bit more about, our social media has been quite robust of late, and appreciate all of you all following it and share it. So we're keeping things up to date. Let me know if you have any ideas or things that are missing in addition to ideas.
Thanks, Meredith. Keith.
It just occurred to me, Meredith, based on our Mike's discussion moments ago about our audit and our changing of audit firms, that when we do the annual report, it might be beneficial to include a line or two or three about why we've changed audit firms, or simply that we have, because I've seen through the recent election, as I've been reading, unfortunately, reader comments and others statewide about this audit issue is probably national. It's certainly statewide, but it is absolutely not a reflection of
inaction or incompetence on the side of municipalities or by extension, utility districts. And I think, it would be helpful to point that out. And this would be a good place to do that.
Let me-
I won't read it, but
If we do that, I would lean towards saying that we've switched, not why. That would be mine.
Right, and for 2024, you know, I don't know that you have to get into, and we're not planning to, it doesn't get mailed out. It's becomes instantly available on our website. In the past, we did used to print a few and distribute them to elected officials. Maybe, Brian, we can think about that a little bit.
You need email.
I'll just print 2025 and get it done, and let's forget about 2024.
Yeah, kindly.
Because that was, Keith is right on point about that tonight, so you hear that a lot. I mean, and I said this to Brian and Mike today, as trustees, we take it an oath and it talks about, are you gonna make sure you do this kind of thing, and it's not a lack of trying, this is not anything that hasn't. So, go ahead.
Well, I'm not gonna tell Meredith what her job is, but, transparency and timeliness, that's to me, that's what we're really after, is transparency and timeliness.
Right, and we're gonna get that right up there, just the second we can. I wrote it actually a year ago. We're just missing that one little crucial part,
Yeah. Wow, okay, no other questions? Thank you. Mayor, we'll be getting, talking, we do this next vote tonight, next week, so we'll be having we do this project tonight, we'll be doing some more project communicating, so all good.
Okay, you know how
Thank
to
you.
find. All right, guys, thank you.
Next up is our HR update with Alan Burton.
Thank you. I reported last month that we had 4 openings. We have filled 3 of those.
Excellent.
We have 1 left to fill. The CCTV, 1 was offered, accepted, starts on Monday. Bill and Clerk 2, offered, accepted, starts sometime next month. And the assistant maintenance mechanic at both the wastewater treatment plant and the distribution facilities, if you will. They're gonna share that. That was an internal candidate, but didn't add anyone for that. We're still looking for a project engineer. We have 3 candidates that we're interviewing over the next week or so. So hopefully we'll fill that. I'm working with Andy on organizational structure because Andy's gonna spend a little bit more time with the engineering group as opposed to some of the other groups. And they'll still report to him, but we've just taken the reporting structure so that they report to a couple of people that Andy will deal with rather than him dealing with 4 or 5 people. So, and when Mike Maury retires, we're not gonna replace him right away. We're gonna evaluate what we need and replace the person that we need for the position. And that's my report.
Any questions? Hearing none. Great, so that's coming up.
Let's do that.
Is this,
I want to,
go ahead.
I want to move executive session before this, if I can.
We can do that.
No,
So
we
now I
can.
want to hear a motion for executive session.
I moved to enter executive session to discuss property acquisition pursuant to NRS section 456C.
Here, second. Single. Okay, second, hearing none, all in favor? All those opposed? I got Susan Bob said it's gonna.
I'm in favor. I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay, let's just end the meeting.
Yeah, so if Bob's gonna stay on, I gotta pick others off.
See if he can. Did you get a loan from that guy? He must have a lot of money.
Yeah, they're crazy. My God.
A lot of money.
There's a one tire fire.
Yeah, like, what's going on up there? Corals. Some people are going on the bridge, they must